Good morning, Peterborough. My name is Jim Tubb, and it is time for your SportsBreak broadcast on 92.7 C Triple FM here at the facilities of Trent Radio in the beautiful Peterborough, Canada. This show, of course, can be streamed online at trentradio.ca, or you can follow what we're talking about every week on Twitter at SportsBreakTR. The weather outside today is a chilly -9 degrees. That's as of 8 o'clock. Nothing new for 9. It looks like it's going to warm up a bit. The sun behind me through the window, woo, feels amazing. As much as I love winter, spring can't come soon enough. And kind of next week coming up ahead. Tomorrow's 8, Thursday 5, Friday 3, Saturday 4, Sunday 9. Like, wow. 9, just 1 9. Yeah, gonna be a great week. And today is a great day. And today is a beautiful day to talk about sports, ladies and gentlemen. What day isn't a good day or a beautiful day to talk about sports at all? And there is a lot of sports to talk about, like there always is. The sports world, it gives so much information. It gives so much news, so many stories, so much news. It gives and it takes. And at SportsBreak, we're all about giving. That's all we're here for. One story that kind of caught my eye, it was Sunday night. I was sitting at home, just looking through sports. And if you remember, in Canada here, it was a huge story with Penny Oleksiak, the 18-year. She was 18 at the time, or she was under 18. I forget how old she was. She was at the Olympics. Swimmer, 1 gold for Canada, 2 golds for Canada, I believe. And kind of took over the Olympics for Canada as a whole. And just like, it was an amazing story. Like, this young kid, this young girl, has beat everyone else in the world and is Canadian, and that's amazing. Same with Simone Biles, a young female athlete that has performed and wins, and it's great to see. Another one, Bianca Andreescu, I hope I pronounced that right, is only 18 years old, is a Canadian tennis player, kind of like Jeannie Bouchard, I think it's instead of Eugene. She won the BNP Paribas Open on Sunday, becoming the first wildcard winner and the second youngest to claim the title in tournament history. It's Indian Wells is also what it's called, the Indian Wells tournament. She performed great. Of course, the youngest. The match was 2 hours and 18 minutes. There's an amazing clip online. It doesn't really play well on radio, of her sitting on her bench with her coach, like completely gassed. She'd played all day in the heat, because it's not here, it's somewhere else. I believe it's in France. Completely gassed, and just saying like she was tired, her legs were shaking. She had ice everywhere, drinking Gatorade, water, going back and forth, trying to get back into it, like saying like, I don't know if I can do it. And the coach is like, how bad do you want it? And she said like, I want it so, I think it was, I don't know what she said, so something bad. And like, how can you not love that? And she won, a Canadian. It's also great to see. She did career earnings of $200,000. She won $1.2 million for the tournament. Kind of sets her up for the next couple of years to get better at tennis, because she's good now. I'm not saying she's not. I'm just saying get better, and maybe she could challenge for the U.S. Open. Challenge Serena Williams. I know it's a while away. She's only 18, but crazier things have happened. This past weekend was also the Players' Championship in golf. And Rory McIlroy won with a 2-under 70 on Sunday. He was one shot over Jim Furyk, finishing at 16 under the tournament. The only reason I bring it up, I watched it. Tiger Woods was finished tied for 30th. Dustin Johnson tied for 5th. Jason Day tied for 8th. Yeah, I know. I watched for Tiger. Most people watch for Tiger. Most people will always watch for Tiger. Now, that's what the Masters is coming up. That's why I kind of brought golf up. I believe it's the end of this month. It's the same. The Masters ends the same day Game of Thrones premieres. So for all you Game of Thrones fans, you have an amazing day. I'm trying to remember what else it is that day. It's a great day in sports. I believe the NHL playoffs start. The NBA playoffs might have started by then too. and then it's the Masters, and then it's Game of Thrones. It's like the perfect weekend / day for TV. Book the day off, book the next day off. Try to get in less. This challenge started on TSN with Brian Hayes. Try to get in less than like 1,000 steps. Apparently, it's really difficult to like even just like around the house to do less than like 1,000 steps. Or actually, that's not true. I think it's what did he try? He tried to do it less than 100 steps all day, which is absurd. Like if you have kids or anything like that, you're going to be chasing them around and you're going to be stepping around. I don't know what I tried to go for there. We're a sports show, not a stepping show. Kind of huge news last night from the NHL and the NHLPA. The Nashville Predators forward Austin Watson has been returned to available status. He's following his care phase of the substance abuse and behavioral program with the NHL, and they'll be monitoring him through that. That came out from Elliot Friedman last night on Twitter. I don't know. We wished him the best when he went in. Hopefully everything is figured out with him and his family. Everything is better. There's not much more to say on my side of it. There's not much more to say. I don't know the story well enough. I forget the story. But if he's better and everything's better, good. I'm sure nothing will be the same. I don't know. We're not even going to get into it. But it's good to see he's out of the program, or on his way out of the program, which is good for him. The Tampa Bay Lightning last night clinched the President's Trophy with a win over the Arizona Coyotes. The Lightning accomplished the feat with 9 games remaining. They have a 56-13-4 record. Since the President's Trophy was first handed out in 85-86, only the 95-96 Detroit Red Wings clinched the President's Trophy in fewer games, doing so in just 71 games. Which is 13, or that's 2x. That's 11 games more, with 11 games left in the season. I think we're gonna go with that math. That sounds about right to me. So we're gonna go with that. Another team that clinched a playoff spot was the Calgary Flames. Clinched their playoff spot in the Pacific Division on Saturday. They are the first Western Conference team, of course, to clinch a playoff spot. They have a 44-21 in record, and they have 95 points through the 72 games. So teams are starting to wrap it up. I don't think we'll see the Leafs or anyone in the Atlantic Division clinch for a while, just because it is kind of still close. But we're getting close. Like, most teams have 10 or less games in the NHL season left for them. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. We're getting into the playoff run soon, and it's amazing. It's the best. It's the most wonderful time. Yeah, I'm not gonna it's just great. It's the best time. Last Wednesday, Pittsburgh Penguins superstar Evgeny Malkin reached the 1,000-point mark. It was last Tuesday, actually. Sorry. For Malkin, he is the 88th player ever, just the 5th Russian to reach 1,000 points, all before his 33rd birthday. Of course, if you remember, he was not considered one of the NHL's top 100 players of all time. Kind of snubbed him there. Just a stupid move on the NHL's part. I'm sure he'll be in the next 100, but he'll probably be dead by then. So, tomato, it doesn't really... it's too bad they couldn't somehow get him in, because he really deserved to be in my opinion. The only thing with Evgeny Malkin is we found out yesterday he is considered week to week. He missed the Penguins' overtime loss Sunday to the Philadelphia Flyers. This season he has 50 assists and 71 points through 66 games. Malkin always has it's been a long time since he's had a healthy season, him or Crosby. Neither have a full healthy season, both. All the Penguins can hope for is he's back for playoffs. He's a big guy, big Russian, need him in the playoffs. He is score, as he will say multiple times. And following the injury route, like we always do here at SportsBreak, Toronto Maple Leafs forward Kasperi Kapanen is out with a concussion. I'm not sure if he's back in the game tonight against the Nashville Predators. I haven't seen anything suggesting. I'm not actually going to look that up because I don't want to sewer myself here saying that he's not going to play. Interesting thing just popped up on Twitter here. We will get to the Blue Jays after the break like we always do. Just so you know, they now have $5 and below deals at the Rogers Center, which is amazing. You can get a 12-ounce Bud Light, hot dog, popcorn, nachos, ice cream, a carton of milk, water bottle, a 16-ounce soft drink, pretzel bites, and chips. Listen, if for $10 you could get a pint and a hot dog, sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good to me. I don't know if this is them trying to get more fans to come in a season where they don't plan to win. We will get to that in a bit. Just a nice little nugget to remember there. Maybe it's not Jeff Merrick that retweets that. Anyway, I'll keep looking it up. Actually, I won't. There was some sad news came out a couple days ago about San Jose Sharks forward Evander Kane. Him and his wife released on social media that they lost their unborn daughter, passed away. He's thanked everyone for everything he got online, all of the well wishes he received on Thursday. He said it's definitely been helpful. Lots of different players around the league and management have reached out that I didn't even know. It really makes you appreciate how special the hockey community is. It was pretty humbling to have so many people reach out. And Amanda, you're in our thoughts. It's something. It's not. Yeah, it's it's just something you don't want to ever hear again or to hear happen to anyone. I don't know. I'm giving it a second to transition there between that. The Leafs, I know, and that's Kasper Kapanen. I was completely wrong. Kapanen, it looks like he's playing tonight, so the concussion issue is no longer an issue, I guess. The Leafs do have another injury problem. I don't know if it's a problem. I'm going to call it a problem. Frederic Gauthier is out with an ankle injury, a foot injury. They haven't been specific. He's going to miss the next 2 games, so the game in Nashville and the game in Buffalo, and will be reevaluated Thursday. Of course, Gauthier this season hasn't played too terrible. He has 3 goals and 9 assists in 62 games. He's the fourth line center. There's not much more other than that. He's the fourth line center. But we don't know for how much longer, because the Leafs extended Nick Patan to a 2-year deal yesterday. That came out from Irfan Gaffer from Sportsnet. Hopefully I pronounced that name right. Of course, if you remember, Patan was traded for Par Lindholm at the NHL trade deadline. He's only played 3 games for the Leafs this season. He has 1 goal and 2... Oh, nope, I'm completely wrong there. In his 3 games with the Leafs, he has 1 goal, and he has 2 assists through 13 games at the NHL level with the Jets. Sorry, I'm reading and trying to relay the news here. 2-year deal, pretty good. We don't know the cap hit yet. That probably won't come out till today or tomorrow at the earliest. But for the Leafs, they're just getting depth down the middle, something that they need. And they signed free agent defenseman Joseph Dusak of Merchist University to 2-year entry-level contract. He led all NC2A defensemen and ranked 3rd among skaters with 47 points in 37 games. He's a right-hand shot. Every NHL franchise needs. He's going to join the Marlies on a tryout basis later this week. Wouldn't be surprised if he makes it. They have a stacked defense core, but it's still, you can never have enough defense, in my opinion. And the Leafs, while we're here. If you remember last week on the show, we talked about Morgan Rielly and the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Tampa Bay Lightning game last Monday and kind of what happened. The alleged usage of a homophobic slur on the ice, and we tried to make it very clear on the show that we weren't pointing fingers, we weren't blaming, we just wanted to know the answer and to say that this doesn't belong in hockey, this doesn't belong in our society at all. Neither does the finger pointing and immediately proven guilty before proven innocent. That's not how it should work, but it does. And I'll admit the show didn't show what I tried to show perfect. we didn't mean to point any blame at Morgan Riley. I don't know if anyone took it that way, but I just want to make that very clear. And the NHL has come out and said that Morgan Riley cleared Morgan Riley from it all, and just kind of said no one said it. It was the term "ragged." Was used on the bench from the Tampa Bay Lightning forward near the mic. Now Morgan Riley did say something to the ref that involved an F word. F something you, F you. I think you can infer what that is. It gets said a lot during an NHL game. I'm sure the ref isn't gonna get too upset about it because it's not a terrible thing to say. I don't want to bring up a conversation that has been had a lot. But the only thing I can say is that although no one said it, which is great to hear, that's not the best possible outcome. The best outcome would have been it never happened. There's never any concern of it happening. And it never did happen. Let me rephrase that. The best possible outcome is that there's never a thought that somebody would have said that. And I don't know if we're going to get to that in hockey, or I don't know how long it'll take for us to get to that in hockey. But that is what we need to work to as a hockey society and a society as a whole, is that no one ever thinks that someone would say that. That's where we need to get to. That the word and the meaning behind it and what it can do to people is so distasteful that you just wouldn't dare say it because of what it means to someone. That's where we got to get there. I like what Morgan Riley and Kyle Dubas had to say. We're going to play it here. Why they waited for the league investigation to play out instead of just going out on their own. We're going to play it here. It's a quick clip. Actually, I'll start it, and then we'll listen to the advertisement. But with it all, that's all I can say is that it sucks that everyone online immediately assumed somebody said it, and it had to be the guy, and they jumped on it because that's what the internet does. Another thing we have to work on, the internet as a whole, is to not do that. So here's a quick clip.
Yeah, last night after the game when I got home, I was made aware that there was a video and I was alleged to have used a slur on the ice. At that point, I came back to the rink to meet with Kyle, and we talked about things, and I told him what happened, and at that point we agreed to let the process play out with the league because they were going to take action, and I was 100% confident that I didn't use the word, so we allowed the process to play out. It was difficult at times to not make a statement because how strongly I felt about it and the fact that it is a very important issue. But I'm very happy that it came out today, that word wasn't used by me. And, I think it's an opportunity for us as a team to realize that there's really no place for slurs like that in sport and in life. And moving forward, I think it's important that we realize that. And I'm happy that the statement came out the way it did.
And that's what the last thing we're going to say on it. Great speech from Morgan Riley and Kyle Dubas. Great press conference. Yeah, that's all we're going to say on it from there. Hopefully you never have to. I don't want to talk about stuff like that on the show again. But that hasn't been the worst. I gotta careful how I say that. That hasn't been the toughest time of the Leafs past week. The toughest thing is easily their play has just been not good enough or good at all. And I don't know whether to blame it on it. I don't know whether you can blame it on the goaltending, the defense, the offense, everything. You can blame it on the injuries to Travis Dermott and Jake Gardiner. What the huge deal is right now, but they're just not performing. And the one thing you can point at is Freddie Anderson. You can't point a lot of fingers, and you can't point them long. And by that, I mean he has carried the Leafs his entire tenure with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Has he had some crappy games? Of course. Was last year Game 7 a crappy game for him? Yes, I'm not denying that. But he's not the main reason they're slumping. I think it's the defense, and I think it's the fact that they're injured. If they have Jake Gardiner and they have Travis Dermott, they're not trailing Philadelphia 5-2. They're not losing to Ottawa, what they did. And I think because they're losing two fast defensemen, Travis Dermott being the fastest defenseman on the team, Jake Gardiner pretty fast. Two guys that can move the puck and move it well. I don't care what you think of Jake Gardiner. He's a great defenseman on the Leafs. Not a great. I throw that word out pretty good. He's a really good NHL defenseman. And he's one of the best defensemen on the Leafs. One of the best defensemen on most NHL teams. It's plain and simple. I don't care what your thoughts are of Jake Gardiner. Sure, he has some bad games. And when he has bad games, they're atrocious. And they cost you a Game 7. Is that the player you want? Maybe not. But when he performs, it's amazing. When you take those two defensemen out of the lineup and you're putting in Martin Marincin or Justin Hall or Oshiganov, I forget his first name, you don't have a good defense core. You're putting a lot on Morgan Riley. You're putting a lot on Nikita Zaitsev, Jake Muzzin, Ron Hainsey, who are all good defensemen. Ron Hainsey's not a top 4 defenseman anymore. Nikita Zaitsev is barely a top 4 defenseman. And you can only do so much with Riley and Muzzin. And Muzzin hasn't had the greatest little stretch here either. It came at a terrible. It's come at a terrible time for the Leafs, both these injuries. And you hope that the Gardiner and Dermott will be back for the playoffs. And they're healthy when they come back from the playoffs. 100% healthy. They will probably not be 100% healthy. Most players are not. It's just the way it is now. You get to the playoffs, everyone's bruised and bumped like their own way. Everyone's hurt their own way. It might not be a lot, but it's enough to change your game or change the way you play. But it's a home stretch. On Monday, they were trailing Tampa 6-1. Wednesday, they trailed Chicago 5-0. Friday, they trailed Philly 5-2. And Saturday, they trailed Ottawa 6-2. Sure, they beat Philly, and sure, they almost beat Chicago. But they still lost 3 of those games. And now the Philly game was good to watch. I enjoyed it. But you can't start games like that. And it's been the thing with the Leafs forever, is they start late. And that's just always been their thing. And they don't really change it, or they haven't changed it yet. They've talked about it. Mike Babcock's talked about it, and we've heard it on the media, through the media all the time. We start late. We got to start earlier. Do it. Like, I don't know how much more the Leafs can keep talking about it. Or they're this offseason, they trade for a guy who scores the most of his goals in the first 10 minutes of the game. I don't know if they track that stat, but they should look into it. And everyone's got to perform better. I know Matthews, of course, scored 2 goals in the Philadelphia game. They've been kind of performing, but still, in my opinion, it's the defense and the goaltending that is kind of holding them back right now. And they just gotta get going before the playoffs. They're gonna make the playoffs. They would have to lose almost every game from now on to miss. They're gonna make it. They're probably gonna end up 3rd in the division. They're gonna play Boston in the first round, which everyone freaks out. And there's a lot of people online that says, "Oh, Toronto can't win now." They just can't. I think if they get Dermott and Gardiner back, I think it's a very close series. If I was to put money on it, I'd maybe put the younger Leafs team on it. I know I've said that last year. Many people have said it. But I think they're a better team this year. And they've got Jake Muzzin back end. And they're older. But they got to get through this slump. And they can't let it define them. They're playing a team tonight in Nashville that is a very defensive sound team. They've had injuries this year, but they're still a really good hockey team. One of the best in the West. Spitting rhymes here like Dr. Seuss, you know what I'm saying? But they got to perform tonight. If they perform tonight, I think it's a great look for the Leafs. Because it's a Nashville team that you could face in the Stanley Cup Finals. Who knows? It's a team that could easily go to the finals, and no one would question it. Are the Leafs that team, though? And that's what you got to wonder with the defensive back end that they have. And Freddie Anderson playing the way he is, and Garrett Sparks playing the way he is. And for a backup goaltender who hasn't really performed this season, who a lot of fans are calling for his head, wishing they would have kept Curtis McElhinney instead of Garrett Sparks. He kind of made a statement that really stood out, saying that the Leafs have to play with more emotion. They got to care about the game more than they have. He made 38 saves, of course, against the Ottawa Senators. just like calling out the Leafs, saying he's got to play with more emotion here. And for the Leafs, maybe he's right. I don't know what they need to play with more. I'd like to say to Garrett Sparks, maybe play more by stopping the puck. He just hasn't looked great in the games he's played this season. And is that all on him? Maybe not. But part of it is. I don't know. That's the way I see it. For the Leafs, if you're a Leafs fan out there, I wouldn't be burning jerseys yet. I wouldn't be freaking out too much yet. Of course, they are still in a playoff spot. Like I said, they're still going to make the playoffs. They're not clinched, but they're pretty darn close. They are only 4 points back of Boston, same amount of games played. Sounds like a lot. It's not. It's 2 games. Of course, Boston was on a bender, a really hot streak there. Now they have the same record in the last 5 as the Leafs. They've won 2 of the last 5. They could easily get the second spot in the division. They just need to win. And I know that's easier said than done, but it's up to them. They hold their fate here, and they've got to perform with or without the defense core being at full strength. And it hasn't been for a while. It's up to them from here. They're 10 points up on Montreal, who are 4th in the division, outside of a wild card spot right now. The NHL is really weird right now. If the playoffs started today, of course, Tampa clinching the President's Trophy, they would play Columbus in the first round. The New York Islanders would play Carolina, and then it would be Boston, Toronto, Washington, and Pittsburgh. That'd be an amazing series, first round, Pittsburgh, Washington. And then over in the West, it would be Calgary and Arizona, and then Winnipeg and Dallas, Nashville, St. Louis, San Jose and Vegas. That Calgary-San Jose, they're separated by 1 point for the Pacific Division. No team wants to face Vegas in the first round. They're not first in their division, but they're a darn good hockey team. And they got something to prove after losing in the Stanley Cup Finals last year. It wouldn't be surprising to see them back this year. The West this year is like Winnipeg could make it easily. Nashville could easily make it. Calgary, San Jose, Vegas. It's amazing to look at St. Louis, who has 82 points right now, 3rd in the Pacific Division, Central Division, sorry. Remember when they were terrible and they were going to trade away Vladimir Tarasenko and Alex Pietrangelo to the Leafs? Like all these, like it's amazing what happens when everyone gets back healthy and performs. Maybe the Leafs take a page out of that notebook. The NHL playoffs are coming up. Most teams have at least, I'm looking through here, some of them have 70. One team has 71. Everyone else has at least 72 or more. We're getting right into the nitty-gritty. The final stretch here. LA Kings were eliminated last night from the playoffs. Ottawa Senators have already been eliminated from the playoffs. Things are heating up in the NHL. It's time for a lot of teams to either get going or get off the pot. That was the nicest way I could say it on radio. But get ready for the playoffs. I don't know if you want to book time off in April, May, June. Get ready. Dad, you're off hip surgery. You're perfect. You can watch the playoffs. I have no work the next day. Sounds like a perfect setup to me. I don't see anything wrong with it. All right, we're going to go to a quick break here. Before we go to a quick... to wrap it all up for the Leafs, if you're a fan, I wouldn't start burning jerseys or freaking out yet. We got to see what this team can do. See how they perform in the stretch here, and then see what the team's like before the playoffs. Then you can start burning stuff and freaking out. Does it look like, in my opinion, they could easily get that second spot in the division? Do I think they will? Probably not. Boston's a really good hockey team. They're playing well. They always play well down the stretch. It's not going to change now. If you're the Leafs, you just need to get consistent. You need to get good goaltending, and you need to get hot going into the playoffs. And that's for any team, not just the Leafs. If you do that, you have a really good chance. And I think this is the year. Maybe they beat Boston. If they beat Boston, then they face Tampa probably in the second round. And they match up a lot better than against Tampa, if I'm being honest. Either way, nice little stretch here. Of course, Nashville tonight, 8 p.m. on TSN. I don't know what TSN network, but you'll find it. Leafs, Nashville, and then, of course, Buffalo this week. We'll talk about it next week, but if you're the Leafs, pick it up. You got to get going from here. We'll be right back here. We will talk about the Blue Jays, their video game curfew. Hopefully you don't like playing video games before a baseball game. We'll talk about that. We'll be right back here, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we are back here, ladies and gentlemen, for your Sports Break on 92.7 C Triple FM, broadcasted through the facilities here at Trent Radio in the beautiful Peterborough, Canada. You gotta love when you have to redo your intro. Try to say too much too quick. It is now -5 outside, sunny. Got the sun on my back. It feels like I'm in Mexico, living the life. Just ripping it up here. Now, if you know me personally, you know me about talking about baseball. One, I like baseball. Two, I pretend to know a lot about baseball when I maybe don't. But who actually knows a lot about baseball? We'll say me. If your answer in your head should have been, yeah, you Jim. Oh, thanks. I love Clayton Kershaw. Always kind of have. I don't know if it's because he's good and I bandwagon that. But I'm like fantasy baseball, draft him first overall. Like, oh, it's Kershaw. He's going to have a Cy Young year. 0 ERA in the playoffs. He's going to be amazing. Kind of always bit me in the butt there. So the news came out yesterday. Of course, this whole offseason, he's been dealing with shoulder injury, leading into spring training. Still shoulder injury. There was a couple days he was shut down by the Dodgers, by Dave Roberts. It's kind of scary stuff for the guy who last year didn't throw as hard as he usually does. You're kind of hoping the shoulder or the elbow or something isn't given out on the guy who has been a workhorse since he entered the league. But a new thing is coming this spring training, this MLB season. It'll be the first time in nearly a decade that Clayton Kershaw will not open the Los Angeles Dodgers regular season. He won't be the opening day pitcher for the Dodgers. I don't think, for me, it's something that's unprecedented. We haven't seen it in a long time. The Dodgers also announced right-hander Walker Buehler will not making the opening day start in Clayton Kershaw's place. Dave Roberts, the manager for the Dodgers, hasn't said who will take the start. With his best two pitchers unavailable, it'll probably be one of Hyung Jin Ryu or Rich Hill. Wouldn't surprise me if it's Rich Hill. Just kind of a guy that slummed it out in the international leagues, got to where he is now, has pitched in 2 World Series. I could see it being him. But the decision ends Kershaw's franchise record run of 8 straight seasons as the opening day starter for the Los Angeles Dodgers, dating back to 2011. It was the second longest active streak in the majors and would have become the longest active streak with Felix Hernandez no longer starting. With Felix Hernandez not starting opening day from the Mariners. For Kershaw, this is it's just Dave Roberts said here, Kershaw and him are on the same page. They both hate it. Kershaw got a gamer, loves to compete. By gamer, it's not I don't mean Patrick Line in gaming. I mean guy who wants to go out and play every single game he could. If he could pitch in every game, he would. Of course, last year, Kershaw only pitched in 26 regular season starts and 6 in the postseason. Due to back problems, he posted a 2.73 ERA, which is one of the highest ERAs in his career. It's the only season, I'm trying to remember, there's an amazing stat about Kershaw. It's the only season since his second season, last year was his only season since his second season that raised his ERA. So what that means is he's had an ERA lower than his career average every other year since, other than last year. He had 155 strikeouts and 29 walks. Of course, Walker Buehler had an amazing breakout rookie campaign. He had a 2.6 ERA in 137 innings, including some amazing work in the playoffs. But he's got a short shoulder, which isn't surprising, being a rookie and pitching as many high-leverage innings as he did last year. It'll be interesting to see when they come back, how they come back. Hopefully they both come back healthy. Kershaw, the face of the franchise, and Walker Buehler, the future face of the Dodgers pitching staff. The last Dodger pitcher besides Kershaw to be a season opener was Vincent Padilla on April 5th, 2010 in Pittsburgh. Of course, Kershaw pitched that season and took over the reins from there. The Cleveland Indians and Carlos Gonzalez have agreed to an MLB minor league contract He'll earn $2 million with $1 million in incentives if he makes the big league team. The Cleveland Indians are a team who had one of the best teams in the league a couple years ago and have slowly declined. Their outfield isn't what it used to be. They had Michael Brantley at one point. Lonnie Chisenhall was on the team. A lot of good players. Now there's Carlos Gonzalez, Leonis Martin, Jake Bowers, Tyler Naquin, and Jordan Luplow. Of course, if you know Carlos Gonzalez, he's played 10 seasons for the Colorado Rockies. He has a .287 career batting average with 231 home runs through his 11 MLB seasons. It'll be weird seeing him in a different jersey. And I don't know if I like him on the Indians facing the Blue Jays, but we'll see how he performs. Hopefully he gets on the MLB roster and performs there. He doesn't belong in the minors. His bat. He has a really good bat. I don't know what else to say there. The Yankees. This is good for the Blue Jays. Not good for baseball. Great for the Blue Jays. Blue Jays will be without Luis Severino. Not the Blue Jays. The Yankees. New York Yankees will be without Luis Severino until May at the earliest with rotator cuff soreness or rotator cuff injury around. He will be re-examined today, Tuesday, March 19th. He was scratched from a game on March 5th in the Grapefruit League. Initially, it was only going to be 2 weeks, but the injury took him out of the opening day starting, and he still hasn't started throwing yet. Of course, last year they signed him this year to a 4-year, $40 million extension. He's not the only Yankee battling injury this spring. CC Sabathia had off-season heart surgery, won't be ready for game action until April. They might have to start right. CC Sabathia got suspended. Sorry, I'm just reading. I learned something new. They might have to start him on the active roster to serve his 5-game suspension. They're going to go with a lot of younger guys, it looks like, in the rotation. Outfielder Aaron Hicks is also battling a back injury. It is more than likely he'll open 2019 on the injured list. Tough start for the Yankees to start the regular season. We'll see how they do. They got to step up. They can't really falter at the start against a team like the Boston Red Sox in the same division. It might cost them in the end. They did make a deal last night for Gio Gonzalez. He can opt out of the deal if he's not in the majors by April 20th. He would earn a base salary of $3 million should he crack the Yankees big league roster and additional incentives like they always do for veteran contracts. Last season, over 171 innings with the Washington Nationals and the Milwaukee Brewers. He had a 4.7 ERA, 80 walks, 148 strikeouts. He was amazing in Milwaukee, though. He went 3-0 with a 2.13 ERA. Helped the Brewers get to the National League Championship Series. Of course, like Gio Gonzalez has pitched a lot of innings with the Brewers, Nationals, and the Oakland Athletics. Older guy, but maybe a good guy for the Yankees rotation right now. It's Masahiro Tanaka, J.A. Happ, James Paxton, Gio Gonzalez. A lot of lefties in New York, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see for the Yankees who the opening day. I would have to believe Masahiro Tanaka would be the opening day starter then. Can't wait to see. It'll be an interesting season for sure. The MLB has released a bunch of new rulings coming out, new rules being put into the MLB season this year. The inning breaks between innings will be reduced from 2 minutes and 5 seconds to 2 minutes in local games, and 2 minutes and 25 seconds to 2 minutes in national games. The maximum number of mound visits will be reduced from 6 to 5 per team per game. The All-Star game will be voted by fans. And then there's an election day kind of thing. It sounds interesting. I don't know. The home run derby, with the event winner will receive $1 million. And the biggest announced change is that there's 1 day for trade deadline now in the MLB. It'll be July 31st. Players will no longer be put on trade waivers and could be traded till August 31st. Of course, you remember last year Josh Donaldson was put on trade waivers and was moved after that, which was huge for the Blue Jays to get some sort of value out of him, but not anymore. Maybe they'll change it because July 31st is not even the middle of the season. I know they have the All-Star game in July, but still it's not the middle of the season. Hopefully they'll move it a little closer towards August or in the middle of August. That way you teams know what their team is more. I don't know. We'll see. This is the first year they're doing it, so we'll see how it goes. Some news came out yesterday about Carlos Santana. Not a big baseball, he's a huge baseball fan. He plays it. He's not a big video game fan. Near the end of September, the Philadelphia Phillies last year were in the midst of a 9-game losing streak. Santana decided he was going to send a message to his teammates who thought it was a good idea to get some Fortnite in during a game against the Atlanta Braves. He grabbed a bat, walked into the clubhouse, and smashed the television to ensure that there was no Fortnite during the last 2 games of the season. He wasn't too happy about it. It doesn't surprise me that this was one of the reasons he got traded. But it's not wrong that playing video games during an MLB game kind of is sketchy to me. You think they would focus on the game, but if you're not playing the game that day, maybe you don't. I don't know. That's just the way I saw it. I don't think it's a terribly wrong message. I think he just relayed it in the worst way possible. But he's no longer on the MLB. He's no longer on the Phillies. He's now on the Cleveland Indians still. But with that, the video game thing, the Toronto Blue Jays have enforced or are about to enforce a pregame curfew in the clubhouse for video games. I believe it's an hour before the game. Video games must be shut off before the game to get focused on the game. This is introduced from manager Charlie Montoya, who said that veterans and players came to him last year, or when in spring training, and said that it was an issue to them, or they thought it was too much. And this isn't coming from Montoya. This came from the players who said we should input this, and he said, I think it's a great idea. So they're going to do that. Montoya has said it's something he always thought about, but it was the players who indeed wanted it. Essentially, it's like parenting for kids, but I don't think it's the worst idea. It helps people maybe focus on the game more. Yeah, for the Blue Jays, it's not getting mad at players. It's just like, hey, let's do this. We'll band together on the game instead of on Fortnite or something like that. A couple of reporters have come out and said afterwards, I don't remember who it was. I don't want to sue anyone by saying it, that like they noticed a lot of players would just play video games before the game. Russell Martin was alleged to play video games during September when he didn't play a whole lot. I'm not going to say whether it was right or wrong. But for the Blue Jays, that's the new rule, is that no video games before the game. It kind of blew up for what it was. People were like, oh, they're adults. They shouldn't be playing video games. It's no different from, like, players used to drink before the game. They used to smoke before the game. Drugs were a huge thing, like, in sports or in the world. Like, well, drugs are still a huge thing. But this is just the newest thing is that they do. Maybe players used to play cards before the game, and the manager would be like, all right, let's get ready for the game and not play cards. Yeah, I don't think it's a huge deal. It sounds bigger than it is. It just sounds silly for a lot of fans, for a lot of older fans, in my opinion. For people my age, I could totally understand it. That like, well, we've got time where kids, a lot of them are 20 years old, play video games. Like, what else are you gonna do? The Blue Jays did do one thing right that kind of stood out. They're stepping up to the plate for their prospects, essentially. Do you like that? They're planning to increase the salaries of minor league players by over 50% this season. Finally get them wages that they can live off of. Of course, it's always been a huge thing in baseball, the wages that the minor league players get paid. Players who are not on the 40-man rosters can be paid as little as $1,100 a month, depending on what level they play on. It's huge. It's a huge thing in baseball. Minor leaguers don't get paid enough. Some of them work a second job. The Minnesota Twins, as a team, tweeted out the same day the Blue Jays announced this, that they were going to do this. Tweeted out that they have a player who works for like a Skip the Dishes or like a food service delivery during the off season so he can like live, which isn't a great thing to advertise at all. You're essentially saying like, we don't pay our players enough. They have to work. Look at this. That's how I see it. I think it's not a great look on the Twins, but for the Blue Jays, good for them, and I hope the rest of baseball follows. These guys, sure, they're playing a game, but they don't get paid enough to play this game, and a lot of them go broke trying to play the game. News coming out of spring training for the Jays last night was Bo Bichette and Gavin Biggio are being reassigned to minor league camp alongside Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Both expected, all three, but both expected to begin the season at AAA. I don't think we'll see Bo Bichette this MLB season. They'll give him the Vlad treatment next year. We'll see Vlad probably around May. And Biggio, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it in September. He's a good player. He's has an amazing bat, great versatility around the leaf field, and is a player I wouldn't be surprised if the Blue Jays try to keep around and not build around. He's not a Bichette or a Vlad, but he's a good serviceable guy. The Blue Jays also announced that Marcus Stroman will be the opening day starter. Last year, of course, was J.A. Happ, and Stroman started 2 years ago. This is his second time. He pitched in 2016. Thought about Aaron Sanchez. Was the other option. Those two options, they're the longest tenured Blue Jays in the rotation. Of course, there's Matt Shoemaker, Ryan Baraki, Clayton Richard, these guys who've barely been Blue Jays. Of course, Stroman last year only made 19 starts for the Blue Jays, a 5.5 ERA, only 102 innings. It wasn't a great season for Stroman, of course. Hopefully he performs well. It's a huge thing for him. If you're the Blue Jays and Montoya, I would have named him the starter too, because if you didn't, he would have lost it. He would have freaked out as a child. Not as a child, but he says stuff on social media. Maybe it doesn't need to be said. He makes his life public and any Blue Jays decision public. Still, I think it was a good idea on the Blue Jays. He's they don't have a lot of great pitchers at the moment. Proven pitchers is the word I should use. Stroman and Sanchez have had good seasons. Shoemaker's had a good season as well in his past, but it's all in the past. It's what have you done for me now in sports, and especially for the Blue Jays. They got to focus on what have you done. What are you going to do for me this season? And for a lot of these guys in the starting rotation, if they have a good MLB season and they're pitching well by June or July, end of July, there is a good chance they will not be on the Blue Jays come August. And it's something we should accept now. A lot of Blue Jays fans should start to accept now, is that if your favorite player on the Toronto Blue Jays is a bit older and they're performing well into July, maybe don't buy their jersey. There's a lot of guys like that. Kevin Pillar, Justin Smoke, Stroman, Sanchez, Ken Giles. Just trying to go through the list. Ryan Tepera. Devin Travis, if he comes back and performs well, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to trade him, because the Blue Jays aren't going to win this year. They might make I don't know. I don't even want to say they might make the playoffs. They're not going to win this year. They're not going to win next year. It's 3 years down the road at the earliest. Then there's 4. It's going to take a long time to get back to where they were in 2015. I don't even count 2016 because they wouldn't have won in 2016. But 2015, it's going to take some time to get back there. Is it going to take as much time as it took from 93 to 2015? No. It's just going to take a little longer. Got to get guys up to perform. Vlad, Bichette's got to come up. You hope you can get something out of Baraki, Sean Reed-Foley, get them performing well. A lot of moves for the Blue Jays before they get back to a playoff contender, a playoff team. Great piece on sportsnet.ca talking about the Blue Jays roster right now, who would be on that team when they make the playoffs in a couple of years. And honestly, the list is literally Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Teoscar Hernandez, Billy McKinney, Danny Jansen, Ryan Baraki, young guys. Not a lot of guys on that team. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., of course. If you're a fan of Justin Smoke, this is probably the last season of Justin Smoke on the Blue Jays. He'll either move on, be traded, or he wouldn't retire. No, that's not what I'm saying. I just wouldn't be surprised if this is it for Justin Smoke as a Toronto Blue Jay. But we got him around while we can. He's going to hit a lot of home runs for the Blue Jays. Either way, you got to look forward to a lot with the Blue Jays this season. They're not going to win a lot of games. That sucks to watch. But look, watch the young guys. That's all I can say. We're definitely going to talk about more MLB season, MLB next show, because opening day is coming up. But that is all the time we have today for your Sports Break, broadcasted on 92.7 Triple FM through the facilities here at Trent Radio in the beautiful Peterborough, Canada. If you've missed previous shows online, you can catch up on Twitter at SportsBreak. We'll be back next Tuesday at 9 a.m., the perfect time in the morning, for another show where we'll talk about the NHL season, the MLB upcoming season. We're going to talk about every team. We're going to try to. There are only 9 days until opening day. Getting there. We're getting there. Stroman's pitching for the Jays opening day against the Detroit Tigers. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, to check your smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. Save your lives, and have a good day.